Hello soldiers, welcome to Derwent Craft where I make things. My name is Sarah and I am back today with a special video, one that celebrates one of the best games that has come out this year, Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know about anybody else, but my free time has been spent either playing Baldur's Gate 3, thinking about playing Baldur's Gate 3, or being attacked by edits of Astarion on TikTok. I would have made an Astarion doll, however, I wanted to make a female doll for change, and one of my good friends has actually made an Astarion doll. I will link her profile in the description box. It just so happens that me and another doll artist on YouTube have made the exact same doll pretty much at the exact same time. That's pure coincidence. She is a very popular character, so I'm not surprised that people want to make her. I won't give it away, but everyone will find out really soon anyway, so I will tag that doll artist in my description box. If you manage to come here first, don't know why you'd do that, but maybe. Without too much delay, I will get right into the video. The base doll for this is going to be different to my usual Monster High. It is Wonder Woman from the DC Girls range. I chose her mainly for her body type. She's more muscular than any other dolls. Since Karlach is a barbarian, it is best that she looks like she could throw you over her shoulder, should the need arise. As always, we need to prepare her for the repaint, which means cutting off her hair and getting rid of the factory face. Pure acetone or nail varnish remover with acetone in it will get that right off. The idea I had to make Karlach's scars was just simply glue. I tried a variety of ways to apply it, and I do like how it turned out. I did also paint the one arm red to make sure I actually did like it and not want to change my tactic after. Once I had applied it to the rest of the body where it needed to be, it was time to paint. Onto the head. First things first, I have to give her horns, and sadly I can't just pop them on later with magnets since there's a lot of face to horn detail. Instead, I'm sticking wire through her face and shaping it to make horns, and I added some for her ears too. I then used Milliput to add these new mods on, waiting for the first lot to dry before I start on a new part. It is the absolute worst when you're sculpting and you squash what you've spent hours on. I sculpted the ears first, then the broken horn, which was a little too long, so I cut that down. And finally the other horn. It took me ages, let me tell you, but I am pleased with how it turned out. Now I can paint her face the same color as the body. I also gave the horns a cursory paint as they were a bit too luminous white. It now means I can move on to the little details around these horns. I'd have done this with Milliput, but every time I rolled out a small enough piece, it just wouldn't stick. I have a lot of little nail art pieces in all shapes and sizes, so I used some teardrop shaped ones to blend into the skin. And then once that's all done, I can move on to the face up. I've started with the whites of the eyes to get the shape and to lay down more of the lighter colour going forward. I thought it was all going rather well until I realised her eyes were far too close together. It didn't have the desired look I was going for really, so it takes me a while, but those eyes do change very suddenly. After redoing the eyes and feeling much better about it, it's a small matter of detail. I do enjoy doing bright yellow eyes on dolls. There's something definitely haunting about it. She also needs a bit of makeup, a bit of a smoky eye. And I'm adding highlights with white pan pastels that will dull down after spraying the MSC. Giving her those vertical pupils. And adding a few eyelashes that won't really be seen. It looks to me like Karlach has a few freckles or something similar, so I added little dabs of darker paint onto her cheeks, waited for a couple of seconds, and then took it off with a cotton bud. It just leaves the impression, and I think that worked out nicely. Then I am painting her horns properly, all the little details now blending in. The thought crossed my mind to carve out the chest part and put a light in there so she glows like the real Karlach. And then I remembered I don't have that skill, so paint it is. In the first instance, I figured she needed some glow, so I dusted on some luminescent yellow to do that. And well, this didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. I went on to do more of the body detail whilst I thought about what exactly to do with her chest. And I basically left it aside to think about it another time. In the meantime, I have to make a tail for her. I just need to drill a hole in her back, which admittedly I did forget to do earlier. I newly acquired some cosclay so that I could bend her tail into nice poses when she's finished. And that was the idea. After struggling with sculpting the tail the way I wanted it to be with the wire in it, I just took it out. I can live with it not posing too much to be happier with the sculpt, really. I add thinly rolled clay onto the main part to get the ridges, and after the middle part was done, I could add the rest, blending it in as I go. Honestly, cosclay was amazing for this. I really loved using it. Then I paint it, and it's all good to go. I knew her hair was going to be awkward because I had to put the horns on first, and navigating around them is never fun. She does have some sort of a mohawk / mullet thing going on. I'm not entirely sure what you would call that. A mullet? A mullet hawk? Either way, I only have to operate in the middle, so I am gluing yarn wefts in black and bits of red respectively. Again, that was something I did not want to deal with all in one go, so I went back to finish the glow on her chest where the infernal engine is. I don't profess to being able to do any of this, honestly, but least of all painting. I, however, did try my best, and it's turned out alright. When I was happy with the chest, I could turn to her tattoos. I made them a wee bit darker than she has, just so they're visible on my doll. Free-handed and winged most of this, but the clothes will cover it, so it's honestly not even necessary. What was necessary was to add the tattoos on her arms, as they will be visible, as well as her heat venting rivets, and these were also super tiny, but those nail art pieces worked very well for it. and just to give you a look at those tattoos before they are covered up forever. Okay, so on this scale, Karlach's series of belts were just very difficult to navigate. I'm not great at figuring clothes out at the best of times, least of all when there are many different bits to contend with. So I did my best to replicate the essence of her outfit. There's a lot of glue and hoops holding this thing together, especially something so tiny. I didn't have the brain capacity to figure out how to make the little toothy bits on the rings, so instead I just left them as smooth rings. I think this whole top situation was made better when I added paint to weather it. It just looked like I was going in the right direction. For her pants, I had no clue what to do. I could have made regular pants and cut them in the right place, but that's not how I roll. I made this weird shape and did stitch them together with regular thread, you know, the crisscross parts. Didn't go anywhere near the doll's leg, so I had to do it with elastic thread, which ended up working a lot better. It did take me ages to figure out how to do these crisscrosses without actually effing them up, but they worked out in the end. I did put these pants together in the worst way I could have. Glue and a dream. However, it's only for me, and had this been for somebody else, I probably would have sat down and tried to work it out. I think adding the weathering to the pants definitely made them look a lot better in the end. The only thing left was to wrap it around the doll in order to make it look like a top. Considering I winged that whole thing, I don't think it turned out too badly. The most fun I had was making her fancy belt hardware. I bought many gold jump rings of varying sizes and filled the smaller ones with some UV resin and covered them in chrome powder to get them gold. I then used more UV resin to stick them all together and they turned out like this. Pretty cute. Now for the details, and this doll has so many. More of those nail art pieces were perfect for the studs on her top, so they go at nearly every cross of a belt. Then I wanted the full experience of these gold loops to be enjoyed, so they were glued straight on as well. She's got some odd reddish belts going on around her thighs, arms, and boots, so I just painted a load of strips red, not that you can really see it well here. For one of her arm pieces, I used Warbler and cut this shape out before realizing it was entirely the wrong shape. It's okay, I get there in the end. I painted it and added these tiny spikes, and I think that looks pretty cute. I hate making shoes, like I really hate it. So any corners that I can cut, I am doing it. I have these boots from another DC Girls doll I have, and they'll do nicely. I just have to take these fairy bits off and I'll paint them. So I did one off camera to make sure it was all good. Then I covered the other one much the same. I do like that her boots have a distinct shape because I hated this when I did it for Geralt. I think it helps that there's a lot more going on with these boots with the red strips. and I really love how these turned out. Now onto her gauntlets. They are different on both sides, and this side has a cool spiky bit, which I didn't film, sadly. However, she also needs teeth, so I'm making those out of Milliput. I'm giving them a little paint, and these will go in the straps around the gauntlets. Finally, the last accessory I am making is her axe. She needs a weapon, and I need to practice my tiny weapon making out of clay. Again, cos clay with the blade, so if it does fall, it shouldn't break any parts off. I actually drew around her axe on Photoshop and printed it off at the right size so it would look correct. A barbecue stick for the handle, and I can add the rest of the details with Milliput. After painting the base layers down on the blade and the handle, I cover the parts I want shiny in UV resin and rubbed chrome powder on. Then to age it, I washed a darker shade of gunmetal into all of the crevices and wiped that off. The very, very last thing I needed to do was style her hair and give her that undercut. I did do the hair off camera because I'd been putting it off for so long. I thought adding a camera to the mix would just throw me off. But that actually turned out okay. A heck of a lot of hairspray and it stays put. So I just glue the flocking onto the side of her head to finish her, and she is all done. And here she is, all finished. I'm not gonna lie, I think she's one of my favorites that I've done so far. I am super happy with how all the sculpting came out, how the hair came out, which I was absolutely terrified of. Um, and yeah, I think she looks great. Very, very pleased. Big, huge thank you to Will Charlton Photography for taking pictures of Karlach. He does such a phenomenal job every single time, and you should all follow him. Also, shout out to Lemon Kitten Creations, who we keep mini collabing with each other on things. It was with Geralt and Yennefer last time, now Astarion and Karlach this time. And yeah, Let me know what you think of her in the comments down below. Remember to be nice, respectful, don't be a dick, or we will rage. We will rage. If you want to see more pictures of her, please follow me on Instagram. Like this video, subscribe if you want to, and, you know, ring my bell. When you do those things, ring my bell. I do have another doll coming on the 28th of October, which is a nice big Halloween collab, so please look forward to it. Let me know if you have been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know who your favorite character is. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for making it this far into the video. You are the real MVPs. Comment a fire emoji if you make it this far so that I know who actually stayed until the end. We won't tell anyone what that means, so it's just our secret. Thank you so much once again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! I'd like to rage.